everybody. It's Ricardo Gorski, the founder of Tax.One, where we help individuals and businesses relocate to low-tax jurisdictions. And today I'm here in Dubai, and I'm sitting in front of Jeffrey Henseler, the founder and CEO of Passport Legacy. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Very well. Yourself?
Very well. Thank you so much. I'm used to the heat, so I really enjoy it.
Oh, very good. We just had dinner actually in Cyprus not too long ago.
Yes.
Beautiful climate, a little bit better than in this here now, I would say.
Yeah, it's pros and cons. I'm super positively surprised of Dubai, though. I just told you it's like a very big contrast, but that's why I'm here to find it out. And first of all, let me ask you, can you introduce yourself? Who is Jeffrey Henseler and what is Passport Legacy?
Absolutely, with pleasure. Yeah, Jeffrey Henseler here in Dubai since nearly 10 years. Started the business of Passport Legacy about 6.5 years ago. And we mainly help individuals to obtain a second passport or an alternative residency, also in Cyprus, by the way, okay? And not too long ago, we've also founded a second company, which is called Property Legacy, which is mainly focused in jurisdictions in real estate development and brokerage that, where countries practically that offer such a residency or a citizenship, that's where Property Legacy comes in and can offer the real estate part.
Absolutely. And I remember doing a market research and obviously looking into Dubai jurisdiction, and I found Passport Legacy some years ago already. And I always wanted to reach out to you, but then you reached out to me and I just found it perfect. That's how we met each other. And this leads to the next question. How did you actually get into the CBI and RBI business industry?
Yeah, I was extremely lucky actually, because I had an old neighbor in our small village with, I think, about 1,000 inhabitants that actually moved to Dubai and started this business. He then retired, so I went to work with him for about 3.5 years. He then retired. And of course, I asked him for the permission if I could open something similar to that, and he gave me his blessings, and here we are.
10 years ago in Dubai, and now being here, what changed? Like, what's the most important thing, the first thing that comes into your mind when you compare Dubai 10 years ago and today?
I would say definitely the traffic, very, very big topic. I think every resident here is struggling big time. But apart from that, of course, it is very, very populated at the moment, which also brings its advantages because you have now way better schools than back then. You have way better hospitals than back then. The service increased by quite a lot, and it's still a very nice life of comfort. A rent spiked, obviously, over the last years as well. But, if you take this all into consideration and you compare it for the rest of the world, for me, Dubai is still the number one.
Yes, and also a lot of entrepreneurs are relocating here. I was at the marina last evening and I was just walking around and I see so many interesting individuals just sitting there having conversations about business, about interesting, high complex topics. And this is something that I love so much, which actually leads to the next question of mine to you. And that is, for an entrepreneur, this is the main clientele, the main audience watching these videos, watching the videos that they want to pay as little tax as legally possible. And obviously, a second passport is a very big topic in that as well. A lot of people heard about it, minimal, but also more and more people are actively interested in a new passport and a new citizenship in residences. We see individuals talking about that on social media more and more. But for you, in your eyes, what is the main advantage for a new passport for entrepreneurs specifically?
So when I started in this industry about 10 years ago, the usual people that came to us were from third world countries that had a weak passport. So they came to us, they mainly wanted, something that will facilitate their travel issues so they do not have to apply for the visas anymore. And that's what they just gave them some flexibility. But this is no longer the case. Now it's way further than that, right? Now we have a lot of people from the UK, from Germany, from other countries which are, considered as the safe haven, or at least used to be. But, Germany, for example, they started to draw for mandatory army. And what does that? That's usually not a good indicator, okay, if something like that comes. The UK is discussing citizenship-based taxation, for example. And with only having another residency like in the UAE, you do not have the full security, because if they put a citizenship taxation or a citizenship-based tax on you, on the passport you hold, What are you going to do then? Because these citizenship by investment programs take a year to obtain. If they decide tomorrow to do that, it's usually too late to obtain that plan B, right? So for us now, a lot of the people that come to us, they really want to have this peace of mind, to have a plan B in the pocket. And that can also sometimes be more than one. That can be a residency in the UAE and, for example, in Thailand, at the same time, 1, 2, 3 passports. And we help them facilitate everything related to that in order to get the best, tax regime possible. They can go where they're treated best under any current circumstances. They will be able to, travel the world if they're from a country with a weak passport. And depending on the needs, they're the different programs. We have more than 20 programs that we offer and are specialized in full. And there is usually a solution for each and every individual.
You open a very big topic, and that is citizenships and residencies. It's by definition very different. So what would you say is the perfect person for a new citizenship and the perfect person for a new when is just, so to say, a residency enough? Because now I'm here in Dubai and I'm just applying for my Emirates ID and I'm opening a company here. However, this doesn't mean I'm getting a citizenship, which is very important to understand, by the way. So for whom is it just enough to have a new residency, and who really needs a new citizenship and a new passport per se?
I think that depends a little bit on the kind of risks you want to take. Definitely having you're German, you have a residency in Cyprus, you have a residency now in the UAE. I think you are considered definitely a global citizen such as, but at the same time, as mentioned, you've seen what happened in Ukraine, for example. If there is war tomorrow in Germany, you will be drawn. You're the perfect age. You're strong, you're young, you have all the capabilities it takes actually to go fight for your country. And that, not a single country in the world is worth fighting for, at least in my opinion. Yeah. And for those reasons, getting the second citizenship, because when you only have one citizenship, you cannot renounce your current citizenship. You can only do that if you have a second one, right? And that will only be able to do so, or you will only be able to do so if you have that plan B in the pocket.
Okay, and this actually leads to where I focus on the taxation, because the residency gives you the benefits of, yes, you can pay less taxes here because you're changing your life center. We both relocated from a high tax jurisdiction to a low tax jurisdiction. I'm currently based in Cyprus, meaning I'm eligible for their local tax structure there, which is basically you are a non-dom individual, so you're fully exempt of dividend tax, and the corporate tax is 12.5%. Here in Dubai, it looks very similar, even though they focus more on the income tax, which they fully exempt for the tax residents here, and the corporate tax was just raised to 9%. And both of these jurisdictions have a very attractive tax scheme. And where the passport then comes into place is more in the plan B. This is why the passports are also often called a plan B, because you can wake up tomorrow, you can still live in Dubai or in Cyprus or actually legally wherever you want, as long as you sort the visa out. However, what if this is the case? So this, I think what you're trying to say is more for people who don't want to wake up one day and then being drawn into into the war, or suddenly we see, okay, citizenship-based taxation comes into play, which is very interesting because officially no European country has citizenship-based taxation, but we are already talking about it. And what happened during COVID? Exactly the same. They started to talk about lockdowns, see how the population reacts, what is their first impression, and then they saw, okay, now we can do it, and they implemented officially the COVID pandemic lockdown. Yeah. And in my eyes, as soon as people are starting, as soon as government or semi-governmental bodies are talking about certain things, we can highly expect it. We are seeing more pressure from France, Scandinavia, Germany, these countries where the tax authorities are very strict. They want, and if they want, they will implement.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the reason you just mentioned, Northern Europe and Central Europe. What's happening there at the moment with illegal immigration, with high taxes, with, people not feeling safe there anymore. Look at our office, right? All our team is from there for those following reasons. Germany, UK, etc. They all come here in the seek of a better life at the end of the day. And what the UAE did very well, they have low taxes. They have almost non-existing crime rate here. And with the current situation in Europe, they are drafting at the moment more than 1,000 people a day that obtain residency here. So at the moment, 1,000 people a day become resident of the United Arab Emirates, okay? And that is, of course, a very, very high number. And that doesn't mean that the UAE is now doing, I don't want to call it, no country at the end of the day is perfect, okay? But if you're much, much better than your competitors, that's exactly what's happening at the moment. That's why they're all coming here, and with good reasoning.
Absolutely. And I think that people just misunderstand what relocation really means. It actually means that you are changing your life center to Dubai. It's not even enough to just come here or to Cyprus or to many other jurisdictions such as Malta, such as many other jurisdictions. I think you really have to change your life center. And for that, it is definitely important that you have this plan B. We have one client from Sweden right now who was actually living in Sweden. He's one of very public person, super successful in a big industry. And he, for example, he was forced to leave Sweden because in Sweden, all the transparency registers are so public that you can easily find out what kind of money someone is generating and what businesses they own. In Germany, it's very similar. There's just one website where you enter your name, my name, and you see all the companies. You can see the profit and losses. You can basically find out what is the actual net worth of a person. And in my eyes, I wouldn't feel comfortable living in Germany with a rising crime rate, living in London, someone else knowing that I'm worth this or that amount, and they just find out where I live and where my kid goes to school. Here in Dubai, this is what surprised me so well, and this is why I want to talk about this comparison and why I say that moving to another country is such a big step, because you are upgrading your life. I was in the gym and I was shocked seeing people leaving their watches in the lounge.
Yes. Leaving unlocked,
Out in the public, leaving their phone right here. And I heard about that before I came to Dubai, but what I was expecting is, okay, so someone forgets their watch in the office and the colleague brings it back then. No, we are actually talking about public spaces where strangers are walking around and you can literally leave all your stuff there and you know nothing will happen.
100%. That's, of course, based on very, very strict rules as well, right? I mean, that's very important to know. Everybody knows what's happening if you steal. Everybody knows what's happening if you, get into a fight. Everybody knows what happens if you take drugs, Everybody's well aware of that. So, you don't do it, of course, because what happens is you will go to jail, sometimes for life potentially, And if you have these strict rules, that's when people behave. It would be that simple in Europe,
Exactly. And in Germany, there is no respect, so to say, regarding the rules and all, as you mentioned. That sounds good. And in Germany, for example, we do have the rules in place, but in my eyes, many people don't respect it. Here, what I've seen when I was in the Dubai mall, I wanted a taxi. However, I was not at the pickup point. So I tried to get a taxi and they were afraid to just stop, even though there was no traffic. They was like, no, I'm not allowed to just stop here. And even in Cyprus, for example, typical Mediterranean, people are siga. The taxi will stop in the busiest road in Cyprus and just pick you up. This is something that I realized here in Dubai, which just creates this big gap. In Dubai, rules are in place and everybody respects it, because if you don't, you will get a punishment, so to say. And it's super amazing to see what this actually leads to. A lot of people would be saying this is dictatorship, this is a whatever monarchy, but I actually would say the results of that are visible. What is Dubai doing? They create the tallest building in the world, the biggest casino in the world. They want to have so many biggest, tallest, strongest, fastest buildings and projects, which shows me that whatever they have done, it is working and everyone sticks to the rules.
Yeah, it was a big gamble, that's for sure, because the weather here, it's hardcore 6 months of the year, It's not for everybody, I have to say. But if you can set up your life in a way where you can, spend, for example, a few months a year, especially during summer in Europe, and the rest you're here, your business generated here, your family goes to school here, then it's one of the best places in the world to live, in my opinion.
Correct. And this actually leads me back to the point, citizenship by investment. I have a very interesting question, and that is actually, what in your eyes is the biggest myth regarding citizenship by investment programs.
A lot of the people think it's only for criminals, or that people, with a crime record need to save themselves in order to get a second passport, but that is not the way. If you do have, or if you do obtain a second passport, if you would now come and apply for a second passport, that island state in the Caribbean, for example, will know 10 times more about you than, for example, Cyprus or Germany or the UAE, okay? For the following reasons: you need to submit all personal documents, you need to submit a bank statement, to submit a police criminal record, you need to even provide an HIV test and a medical general checkup, And with these all requirements that these governments have towards an applicant, it is, I would say, I don't want to say bulletproof, okay? It can always be that a bad apple falls into the basket. But generally, if you want to do something bad with a passport such as, there would be way easier options in the world, okay? You can take a boat and Germany welcomes you with open arms and gives you a home, okay? It's quite a lot different than paying actually $250,000 for a passport that takes 12 months time, and will require you to submit all this documentation. So I would say that is one of the biggest myths, that, people think it's only for people that have a criminal record or whatever. It is really only the good people and the people that want only the best or have the best interests to make with this passport, they will get it. If you have one bad connection to a terror organization, etc., they will find out. You will be rejected, and rightly so.
And this is the actual behind the scenes of this industry, because you are working in that industry for many, many years. However, so many people are not actively involved in that industry. They just hear information about passports and citizenships by investment programs online, and they read mainstream media or even private media companies, such as one company that created a very big scandal about the Cyprus passport scandal, which I do not have any actual information from that industry. But what I know is that they created a false case study where they wanted to bring a criminal into the country of Cyprus and sell them a passport, and see how the government bodies and authorities in Cyprus will react to that.
I mean, that was Al Jazeera mainly who did this reportage about it, and I do not want to say it was fake or not, okay? I don't want to be there now to take such statement. I'm really not aware. What happened was that they pushed through it, and the program was actually cancelled, the Citizenship by Investment program, okay? I also do believe that it was a bit easy to get citizenship in Cyprus back then. 3 months, you buy a property, 2 million euros, and within 3 months, you're technically a citizen of the country, European citizen, Having said that, I do believe that, again, in Europe, about 600,000-700,000 people receive European citizenship every year through either marriage or being a resident there for a certain amount of time. But zero due diligence checks have been taken on that person, okay? Germany alone had, for example, 2 million immigrants within the last 2 years, okay? Imagine that number. You cannot control 2 million people. You cannot check them. You don't know their backgrounds or anything related to that, right? So if you look at citizenship by investment, where maybe, a handful of thousand people around the world are getting the citizenship, okay? While only in Europe itself, I mean, Malta just cancelled also, by the way, the citizenship by investment program. It was ruled, by the European Committee, and that's it with Malta. But they do not understand is, even if you have 600 people that obtain a Maltese citizenship that's a 2-year program, you get into very, very deep checks if you apply for that, If they don't like a single thing you've done or how you earned your dollar in the last years, they will reject you. It was a very strict program. But at the same time, you leave 700 or 800,000 people receive citizenship in Europe at the same time per year, while you have 600 people that applied for Malta per year maximum, not even, I mean, make it make sense, right? Where do they draw the line, okay?
No, absolutely. I think it is hypocritical pointing with the fingers at entrepreneurs and people who obviously have money, because yes, this does exist, but this doesn't give individuals and also businesses or media companies the right to then just down talk on this program, which, yes, as you said, was maybe easy, but it is even easier to arrive with a boat in Germany, and no one is saying anything about that, because then you will be showed because then you will be in the media as the bad guy and no one has the balls to say that. However, and we didn't even talk about that. You said that you think, maybe it's a false case, and I have the gut feelings too, that they just try to persuade the agents and the service providers in Cyprus into accepting that Chinese person, and maybe that person wasn't even accepted, and they just create specific spotlights on little sentences that the people say. There is one famous saying where that one guy said, "This is Cyprus, my friend."
Yeah.
And now this is like such a meme in the world. No one really knows how the conversation was actually
You
like.
can take it out of any context, right? Yeah.
Al Jazeera could basically just make the whole case up, present it, and no one will really know because they are the media company. They have the eyeballs. The service providers who are now facing all the problems and everything, I'm not saying they are innocent, not at all, but we don't know the other side. And for sure, they don't have the eyeballs as Al Jazeera has in order to show their point of view.
Yeah.
So this for me is very important, as I'm also having a media company, that you need to show both sides. And you can't just be hypocritical and say A, but then you do B, or you just create C out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that is happening a lot in citizenship by investment. You know, you have 1,000 good people, then you have one person maybe who committed a fraud or is committing a fraud. I mean, you have these people always, okay, with another passport or not, right? And well, at the same time, you can look. I'm also not saying all illegal immigrants are bad. You know, maybe 1,000 are good and one is not, okay? But there, of course, it's a completely different, topic to talk about, because you have a very left, government at the moment in Europe, okay? And they're ruling at the moment, and that's what's happening, and that can be very nicely seen based on that, right?
Exactly. And the thing that lefties hate the most is seeing a right hand just doing its own business.
Space time, and that's also why the people flee, right? People are, fleeing, Central Europe. They're tired of the gender, we need to call people by the gender that they want, the gender neutral toilets, and, the high taxes and everything related to that brings them at the end of the day here. Because here, life is still normal. People are still, following traditional values. And I think a lot of the people are missing that in Europe at the moment.
Absolutely. And I just think it's so weird that society changed so much in such a short period of time. I chose Cyprus because it's the most Western, I chose Cyprus because it's the most Eastern country in Cyprus. It's geographically Riaza. But being here, I just see that this is like another level. It's like I just feel good here. I feel safe here, as I said before. And I can really see myself having a second leg here. And what I wanted to what I wanted to ask is, you work with a lot of clients, you have big clients, small clients, but from all of the stories and things that you've experienced so far, what is the funniest story that you have to tell about Cyprus, about citizenship by investments?
Hey, I wouldn't really say that there is, or that there are generally any funny stories related to that. We have a lot of happy stories, of course, where really certain people, their life changed a lot based on that. We have people who did not get job opportunities because if you have you and me on a table, okay, one has a Syrian passport and I have a Swiss passport. Let's say we apply for HSBC, okay, the job that we apply for requires us to travel 5 times a year to, the UK and Schengen and Hong Kong and Singapore. If you have a zero passport, you need to apply for a visa for every single of these countries, right? Well, Schengen and then UK and then Singapore and Hong Kong. If I come with a passport, for example, of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I can travel 160 countries, who would they give the job to, although we have the exact same qualifications? So we have seen a lot where people, got really, really into very high jobs, especially in big corporations, because it allowed them to travel around the world, okay? And then we also had one time a guy during COVID, actually, where he had done an Antiguan passport. His wife did not, okay? For whatever reasons, the children, they were studying in Paris. He was able to go see the children in Paris. She was unable to, although she had a Schengen visa. So because of that, they said during COVID, only if you have visa-free, you can travel. If you do not have visa-free and you have a Schengen, you cannot travel at the moment, So there were so many stories, and each and every of them is very, I would say, unique and individual. But one thing that is for sure, nobody ever regretted doing a second passport. Not one person, okay? Many regretted not doing it, because when they needed it, it was too late. Like that wife of that husband, okay, which thought she didn't need it because she has a Schengen visa anyways, and then what happened, couldn't travel anymore. So these stories we have really on a daily basis, and that's at the end of the day for us very beautiful, because we have seen tears of happiness and everything related to that, because they just realized, okay, I am free now. I can go with that passport to 160 countries of my choice.
So because of the fact that not everyone needs and wants a second passport, it's just for specific individuals, just as health, for example. You just want health once you don't have it anymore. So I just see the second passport in Citizenship by Investment program in this area, where as soon as I'm sick, the only thing I want is health. Well, when I'm healthy, I don't care. I have to go to the doctor. I will go next week. I need to take my supplements. I didn't take them yesterday. So it's like actually something that people really need to intrinsically understand. Maybe even they need to go through such a low where they are in need of it. It's like basically something where you can prevent something, but you don't have to.
It's like freedom. Health
Yes.
is in this case freedom, okay? When you don't appreciate freedom, right? You can do whatever. We live in a safe country. You don't wake up in the morning every day and say, no war. Okay, everything is good actually, You don't wake up with that relief, right? You only wake up and you realize, okay, I need this specific thing when it's taken away from you. In your situation or in your example that you just made, well, it was health, okay? In our business, it's the freedom part.
Wow.
We deliver.
So let's go back to the pandemic. Back then, everyone was locked in their houses. I remember you can't go into the supermarket to do this and that. But what if you have a St. Kitts and Louis
Kids and neighbors.
St. Kitts that you just book a flight ticket to an amazing island and you live your life with your family there?
Well, I have to say that's worst case scenario, right? Because if you live in a country with 40,000 inhabitants, maybe it can get a little bit boring, okay, after a year or so. But at the end of the day, you have, with a CARICOM passport, you can also travel, of course, and live in any of the CARICOM countries, okay? And there are some of the bigger ones there that you can definitely have a life, okay? And but anyways, that would be at the end of the day something temporary, because not to forget, you still have your other two residencies if you wish to do that, right? One in Cyprus, for example, one in the UAE. So you have so many options to choose from. But yes, you're right. If worse comes to worse, yes, you go and live your peaceful life in a Caribbean island.
And in that case, I want to talk about how do you see this market changing in the future? Because we already mentioned Malta just stopped their CBI, Cyprus stopped their CBI a few years ago. Prices are increasing. Caribbean programs are increasing their prices every few months or years. And even just residency programs are changing too. The non-dom status in the UK is stopping. So how do we see the options just evaporate? And what do you see in the next 5-10 years? Will all of these options be still available, or do you see pressure from the government, from above? They just want to destroy this industry. What's your take on that?
You always have, I would say, a little cycle. When I started in this industry 10 years ago, we had like 3 programs, not more than that. Okay, we had Portugal, we had Antigua just came new to the market, St. Kitts was there, and Dominica was there. That's practically it. Okay, currently we have more than 20 programs available. So yes, while some of them stop, and that's they're a good ride as well. In some cases they stop because they realized, like in Spain, they're convinced again, the left party, that it makes the housing way too expensive. Okay. So that is one opinion. Can be, but if you look at the number of applications, does this actually make a difference? Okay. And at the same time, I also would like to say that there are more and more countries also thinking about having a citizenship by investment program. We've seen Nauru, which is a country 4 hours flight approximately from Australia, next to Fiji and these small little vacation islands, then opened a program recently, okay? At the end of the day, the EU cannot put all of them in jail, okay? No, the EU cannot put all of them and just say, no, you are not allowed to do that. What they can do is, of course, at any time say, hey, not like that, you have not conducted your due diligence checks well, and for that reason, we would like to take the visa waiver away. Vanuatu is a prime example of that, okay? They didn't follow the guidelines. They, went out there and accepted practically every nationality. The checks were maybe not done too well in Vanuatu. And for that reason, the UK and Schengen said, you know what? we will suspend the visa-free access. That's why it's very important, if someone is interested in obtaining a second passport, to make proper due diligence. And of course, that's where we would come in and we tell you exactly, look, this is the risk you're facing in this program. This is an advantage in this program. That's at the end of the day what you're paid for. And that's why we're in this business for quite a while.
I think there are different levels just exactly about that. You have the person that just lives in Central Europe, pays 50% taxes, risks their life on a daily basis going through Frankfurt.
Yes.
And then you have the second level where, okay, I want to leave my home country, Germany, Austria, whatever it is, whatever it may be, and I relocate to Cyprus, Dubai. Then you have another person who upgrades from level 2 to level 3 and just wants to have plan B. They want to have a citizenship. They want to have the flag theory, as many flags as possible, bank account here, residency there, and just be free, as you said. And in that case, it is important to just understand where you are and then basically act from there and just do the next step, because it is complex. I see it as well in the tax industry. You have so many different vehicles, companies, trusts, bank accounts, holding structure, operating company, everything, and you just are overwhelmed. The most important thing in my eyes is to at least get the information. Just talk to someone who knows and offers you a variety of options, because otherwise you just stay stuck because it's the comfort zone in your home country and you don't even allow yourself to at least give it a chance. At least go and visit Dubai or Cyprus. And then from there, maybe you don't like it. Maybe you just prefer rain instead of sun. Maybe you just prefer asphalt instead of beaches. And maybe you like to pay taxes. Who knows? So I think...
Good one. Yes.
I think it always depends on each and every one. For me, it was clear I want to relocate. I found my options, Cyprus. Now I'm getting in. Now I'm here in Dubai, expanding from here, level up. And this is what this is all about: to focus on your business and seek for freedom and seek for low taxes.
Absolutely, and that's where Ricardo and I can help with this entire setup.
Absolutely. So, how can we reach out to Jeffrey Henseler, your team, and Passport Legacy?
Absolutely. Passport Legacy has 8 offices worldwide, including 2 in West Africa, 1 in Lebanon, 1 in Egypt, Dubai, Singapore, and in Philippines. And any of our offices are, of course, there for you, wherever is closest to you. PassportLegacy.com, that is, of course, the direct email address. Send us an inquiry. We'll be very happy to have a chat with you and advise you on what's best.
Amazing, Jeffrey. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak to you. And let's have a good day here in sunny Dubai.
Sounds good. Lunchtime. Thank you very much.
Thank you.